Wonderful. All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to our webinar today. We are going to give folks just a few 30 seconds or so to get joined if they're coming from other meetings or other places. But super happy to be here with you today. I'm Katie Clark, Director of Product Marketing at Talkdesk. Today, we're going to be talking about a number of awesome things for small businesses, including customer service, the chat. Well, and I say awesome, the challenges and the struggles that small businesses may traditionally face in customer experience. And, despite not having a ton of time, budget, or additional resources, you can still deliver smarter customer service, no matter the size of your business. So again, I'm Katie Clark. Want to welcome everybody here. I am just going to wait another 30 seconds or so just for people to join, and we'll get going here in a second. I have Jean Marks with me, and Jean, I'm gonna save your introduction for in
Good.
just a few minutes, so and it's worth the wait, but I just wanted to make sure that you knew you were welcomed. But again, so actually, yeah, I'll jump in and get started. So hello, everybody. Welcome again to our webinar. No time, no budget, no problem. Smarter customer service for small businesses. I'm Katie Clark, Director of Product Marketing at Talkdesk. And we have a great hour of conversation for all of you today. But before we do that, so we're going to go through some welcome and housekeeping. Then we're going to go into, really why there's no time to waste to prioritize great customer service. Many small businesses already are, but there are ways that you do that with technology that you may not even realize. And then we'll talk about what modern service in small businesses looks like, and then we'll have some time for Q&A, which, Jean and I have a number of discussion points. We could talk about this for a long time together. But I promise all of you that we will keep this conversation to an hour maximum. All right, so quick housekeeping, and then I want to make sure we do due diligence with an introduction for our guest. But you're going to have access to the recording of this session. This is being recorded right now, and everyone will be sent this recording afterwards. It'll also be available online after. You can submit questions through the Q&A function. In Zoom, there's a Q&A box. Just submit questions in there, and then we'll address them at the end of the session. If we aren't able to get to your question, or if it's something, very technical, we'll reach out to you directly afterwards. So with that though, Jean, I am super excited to have you here today. So our special guest, Jean Marks, small business expert, columnist, was just on BBC today, uh,
Yes.
covered all over the country, across the globe.
Actually, not officially, Katie. It's actually, I think it's airing in maybe it's already aired. I take it back. I think officially it was
You
on the
will be on TV. You are on the BBC today at some point.
BBC.
The
Right.
segment is locked in.
Fair
Uh,
enough.
but we're super excited to have you. You're such an expert in this space. If you wouldn't mind just giving a quick introduction of yourself, your history with small businesses and particularly in the service space, to our audience to get to know you a little bit, that would be wonderful.
Yeah, thanks. Hi everybody. I mean, if you're looking at my face, you should know by now that I'm a certified public accountant. But I actually don't do taxes anymore because I'm not very good at them. And about, I don't know, 20 years ago when I started my firm, we do mainly financial and technology consulting. I write in a lot of different places like The Guardian and The Hill and The Washington Times, an Entrepreneur magazine. I do this like every week. I do a lot of speaking at a lot of industry associations. I focus on small and mid-sized businesses. But I write every week about 6 to 8 times a month for Forbes, and I cover technology for Forbes, and I've been doing that for about 15 years. And listen, I mean, that's what this conversation is going to be all about. When I visit clients and I give them advice, it's not only on cash flow and taxes and workplace things, but it's a lot of technology things. I mean, we all know that every dollar in our margins counts. Providing great customer service is very important. We know that our best future customers come from our current customers. And my smartest clients I have learned from are leveraging their customer service platforms to provide the best service possible. And I've learned a lot about customer service. I've written a lot about customer service, and this is what we're going to talk about today. And I've got some stories to share with you, Katie, as we get through here. But anyway, that is my background. I'm really looking forward to this conversation.
Awesome. And again, super excited to have your expertise with us. And for those of you that don't know, Jean's written a number of blogs, even with Talkdesk. We'll make sure those are
Mm,
sent out afterwards, all on customer service and customer experience. But without, we'll get into some of that again. I'm already bringing up things that we're going to talk
right.
about later. So let's talk about small businesses. And I have this already up on the screen. Small businesses don't really have time to waste. The pace of change in the customer experience, customer service, customer support market is rapid. It is so rapid with the onset of AI, generative AI, over a year ago now, agentic AI. And small businesses they have a lot of pressure on them. They're competing in their markets with large corporations or even mid-sized businesses that are larger than them. Well, here's a couple of things. So, and I don't want to give away too much of this because we'll be releasing this information in the future here, but Talkdesk did a survey of small businesses in particularly the customer experience space and AI. And what's really interesting here is that when we're looking at the dedicated teams and groups that focus on customer experience in small businesses, over half have a small dedicated team. A third rely on just one singular person to do all of their customer experience. And then 13% have no customer experience team at all. They just have general staff handle inquiries. Regardless of all of this, these are small teams, small but mighty, but the pressure on them to deliver is the same as any other business that's out there. That's how consumers are acting. So even though you've got lean teams, you have the same rising expectations that customers are expecting. They want 24/7 personalized support. If anything, they actually want that more from the small business that's in their neighborhood or in their town or even in their state than they expect from somewhere large. They assume that you're available for them, not realizing that, you've got an even leaner team than a large corporation does. And then on top, there's just some cascading effects if you're not able to deliver the service that customers are expecting. It is very easy, right? And this has been going on for a long time, but customers switch. One slow reply can mean a lost customer. And those reviews and word of mouth are so much more important for small businesses than they are even for large corporations. So, Jean, as we talk about this,
Mm,
and the challenges that small businesses face, where do you see the, where small businesses are really being challenged most in
yeah.
this regard in terms of delivering those expectations for customers and how they kind of are sort of trying to manage that right now?
They are. I mean, the thing I want to focus on is that word pressure, Katie. I mean, we're talking about, whoever is in your business that's providing customer service, whether it's one person or a group of people, these people really have a lot on their shoulders and they got it coming from both ends. You've got customers. You mentioned about when customers reach out to small businesses, they have, they feel even more apt to complain or put the pressure on because it's not like they're calling a big customer service department at a large telco company.
Right.
There's an expectation they're not going to get, of what they're going to get.
When I call my internet provider, I assume I'm going to get bad service. Like I just know
Yeah,
that I
it's like
am.
almost assumed, right? And then you know
Right.
what happens when you call a small company? Not only do you expect to be actors, you're like, well, this is a small business; they should recognize me. I mean, I'm one of their customers. And secondly, I've also found that a lot of customers are more apt to say, like, you know what? Let me talk to the owner. Or, I mean, I'm like, this is a bad issue. Or let me, um,
Yeah.
because you're like, it's a small company, so I don't want to waste my time with the customer service person. I'm going to go right to the top. People feel that way, and then the owners are the opposite. They're saying to the customer service person, I don't want to, I'm busy doing all these other things. And like your job is to deal with them.
Right.
So I just want to just put you, you've got, think of your customer service team, the pressure that they're under. They're getting it from their customers who are trying to do ends around them. And then they're getting it from their bosses, us, the owners of the company, saying, handle this stuff because I got enough on my plate. It's a pretty tough job for these guys.
It's a really tough job. And to your point, exactly, it's the catch 22 of these like small lean teams. And you're right, you almost feel like you deserve to be able to talk to the owner. But you're right, the
Yeah.
owner's got so many things. I think
Yeah.
I was talking, and we'll get into this, we talk to small businesses and there's a group who It's a delivery service, and they had a delivery driver that left their business for whatever reason, and the owner is now having to drive the
Ugh,
truck for
right.
in place of him because they don't have. So of course, the owner's like, I don't have time.
Yeah,
I don't have time to take all the, you would love to. Of course, the intent's always there to be on the phone and handle everything yourself, but when duty calls, it's your business, and we understand that. Yeah, well, you've lost one of your truck drivers, things still got to get done, and you're
yep.
going to be the one that's actually driving that truck. And there's not much, and if you don't have and even if you have a dedicated team, there's still a small team. I love that point about the threat of escalation.
Yeah,
It's
it's there. And then I
certainly.
got one other thing to even add is I can guarantee you that if you've got one person dedicated to customer service at a small business, that business probably needs three, because the business owner is not, he or she had probably had their arm twisted to get a full-time customer service person, let alone the fact they need a lot more. So, these people are overworked. I feel for them because it's a lot of stuff. And one final thing, most small businesses, the owner is intimately involved. A lot of the stuff that they do is like up here, and not in a system. So a lot of times, people in customer service feel like they have to have ESP to understand what was meant when this job was ordered or what was promised.
Oh
Um,
my
if
goodness.
there's no system in place for handling that, and it's just in the owner's head and the owner's God knows where. It's another issue. It's a tough job, I guess. I like the title "The Pressure on Small Teams" because it's a tough job.
And actually, that point is a perfect transition for
Yep.
just how these teams work. And also, please do let me know if my internet is spotting. You can't hear me. Need me to repeat anything? Just let me know because I just saw the pop up that my internet is
You're good so far.
somewhat
Good so far.
questionable, but good. I'm glad to know. So, as you were mentioning, you have an owner or somebody in the business who's maybe talked to a customer. If that's not tracked anywhere, how is the next person who talks to them going to know what's going on? Here's the thing: is we completely understand that small businesses do have technology in place. And the funny thing that report that I was alluding to, it's actually impressive how many, and we'll get into AI a little bit more in a bit, so I don't want to reveal this too much, but a lot of we don't want to I don't want to count out small businesses because a lot of small businesses have tools already in place where they're trying AI. Actually, more than half of small businesses are already using AI in customer service in some way, shape, and form. It's about how they're using that, or again, the different systems they might be using. So what we typically see is either manual processes, particularly again, if you don't have a dedicated team or you don't have a person, you don't have everything's either in manual workarounds like personal phones, spreadsheets, sticky notes, legacy systems, those, or shared inboxes. I see that a ton where there's just one shared Gmail or one
Yep.
shared business account where all inquiries come into that's not tracked, that's not connected to a phone system. It's certainly not connected to any SMS communication that's going on. And all of those things rely on manual updates and a lot of continuity sharing between people, like you mentioned
Yep.
when an owner is promising something. If it does not get back to whoever is talking to that customer next, there's misset expectations. And again, those expectations that the customer has for a small business, they assume because it's a small team, they're all talking to each other
Yep.
and that those things are going to be remembered. But really, again, because it's so lean, it's really difficult and things move so fast to keep track of all of that. So those manual updates and that multiple channels, and this is something that if you've got something in place where you're at least using a tool that is connecting all of your channels, you're in great shape. A lot of people are not. They have a different vendor for phone, for email, for text, let alone AI that's usually in its own black box somewhere. You aren't able to see the continuity between all of those systems, like in that whether it's a system of record or an interaction history that's just completely unfamiliar um, to a lot of folks who don't leverage these things. And then separately, there's an old technology aspect of this. If you've got an IVR, which is that phone tree, that phone
Mm.
interface when you call in, and it's outdated. Those are really hard to update usually if you're in a legacy system. And again, those scattered tools, you're just losing that time to context. I think this makes the incorrect technology, the incorrect processes can make the work of customer service even harder for small businesses who already are up against a lot. And I'm curious, Jean,
There's good news,
you
by the
talk-
way, Katie, in this.
yeah,
I do want to say there's good news. Is you paint a bleak picture of
I
what,
know.
all the old system enterprise, which is, by the way, which is what is in place at like most businesses I know, which, if you're the type of business that's ready to change that and get rid of your spreadsheets and get rid of your single, email address, and like you said, your clunky phone system, whatever, you will step far ahead of your competitors because most small businesses that I visit, and I'm talking about like plumbers, contractors, electricians, landscapers, accounting firms, architecture. You're right. This is what makes up small business in America today. They're all doing this stuff. I mean, I see this again and again and again. So you could really put yourself ahead of your competition by moving away from some of this old stuff. And then the other point that I also have on that is that more and more customers are just expecting it. I mean, it's,
Mhm.
you watch YouTube videos, or at least, for example, I listen to a podcast now. If the audio quality is not good on a podcast, I turn it off because it's like this is like I'm listening to Wayne's World or something, I mean, so you have this expectation nowadays that of what you want to hear, what you want to see, the experience you want to have. So more and more customers have an expectation that they're they can chat with their provider, or they can have an automatic response, or they're going to get reminders. There's going to be a portal to look at their issue, or they're going to have some type of automation. I mean, there's more and more people just expect that stuff right now. So if you're still operating this way, it's not going to last very long, and some smarter competitors are going to get ahead of you because they're going to leave this stuff behind and adopt new technology.
Well, and it's really interesting that you say that because in this, in some of the research that's been done, the as we've been talking about again too, that personal touch from small businesses is still what small businesses know
Sure.
sets them apart. Um, and but to deliver that personalized touch and make sure that you're knowing when was the last time that they worked with you, what was their last order,
Yeah.
what are all the issues that they've recently called in or emailed you about. 43% of small businesses are prioritizing human touch points and oversight. And that to me, even in the world of new technology and AI, again, you can use but these manual processes make it extremely hard to deliver that personalized experience. And even if you're like, well, this system works for us and we get it, we don't want to change, changing over to something that is unifying your channels and just unifying the interactions that customers have with you helps you deliver those human
Yes.
and personalized experiences. It's not
Yes.
completely automating everything, but again, to need to sort through spreadsheets or sort through inboxes or the folders, like even the admin lift and time that it takes your team to deliver great customer experience through these manual processes or old clunkier technologies, you may not even realize the amount of time suck that those things are requiring, to be honest. And it is really hard to think about, oh gosh, well, we gotta, it's an unknown world to go through and change and take on a new technology. But I think, and we'll get into this in just a second, but I think small businesses would be pleasantly surprised in how much easier it is to deliver that service
Sure.
through that personal touch by eliminating some of these manual processes.
But
And
I also have to say, like, let's just not, it's not about us, it's about our customers and our clients. And I have a client, they're a small distributor, about 70 employees, they're in central Pennsylvania. For years, the owners of the company, and by the way, typical small business owner is 55 years old and over, according to the Small Business Administration. So we're all a bunch of old people running these companies. I'm one of them. And they insist on having somebody pick up the phone on every call, and then route that call. And they're finding out, my client, she is finding out and learning that, there's a portion of their customers that don't want that. Like they want to have something more automated. They would prefer to chat. They would prefer to get an answer from the website. They would prefer to have more of an automated system. If they need to speak to a human, they fine. But there's a portion of customers, just like there's a portion of people that still read newspapers and a portion of people that still
right.
read hardcover books. And we as business owners have got to have platforms that can respond to all of the needs of our customers. They want to get their answers in the way they want to get their answers. And having manual processes and old phone systems and spreadsheets and all that, you're just going to wind up frustrating your customers. So that's why you got to change.
Well, and I think we've, again, painting, no, I do not mean to be painting a bleak picture for the folks who are here. So, but again, that's more just the reality that
Yeah,
it's really
it's
hard to
reality.
keep up. And if you have, this is what modern support looks like today. And as I mentioned, over 50% of small businesses are trying out AI, trying out, other, new ways of automating their customer experience, which is amazing to see.
Hmm.
And again, a lot of this, because it is so new, your first movers are the ones who are like, oh, let's try it. And if it breaks, like, well, at least we've learned. And then those lessons get passed on, and then more people take them on. So it's great to see that we've already got a number of teams that are already using this. But here's just even more why, if you're not thinking about not even just unifying your channels, which we'll talk about in a little bit, but AI and how you can automate those processes. Now, this is specifically for, agentic AI, and agentic AI, for those that don't know, that is AI that can think and reason sort of independently. So if I have some images coming up of some examples. If you're just telling it something, it can kind of think for itself versus more intent-based AI, which is still really powerful and can help with a ton of basic inquiries. But agentic AI is the new thing that everyone's talking about. And Gartner, who's one of the leading analysts, research analysts for technology across the gamut of a number of categories, by 2029, they believe that agentic AI will autonomously manage up to 80% of standard customer service questions without any need for human intervention. Again, this not only means that by that time, consumers are going to be expecting that if I come to your website, I'm going to be able to chat with something, and it's going to be able to give me an answer or update information for me. But also, too, all of your competitors are going to be benefiting from alleviating their staff of these basic inquiries to AI agents. Again, I recognize that we're not going to be able to roll out, and not everyone's going to be able to roll out a full team of AI agents tomorrow, but it's a crawl, walk, run. And if you're still kind of on the edge of, should we be thinking about this? Should we not? Definitely be thinking about it, because it is where the market is going. And then, as you see over here, we've got, even when this is Accenture, which is again large consulting firm. Multi-agent systems are when there's a whole team of virtual agents who are helping run processes for your business. That is, again, when we're talking about crawl, walk, run, that's maybe in a sprint at the end.
Hmm.
But even again, just let's look at that first stat where it's just standard service inquiries that can be answered by AI. And that is, again, that's the way that we're going. And it's not out of reach for small businesses either. I think this is something to really think about. This is not just for enterprises. This is for any business who wants to create efficiencies for consumers and themselves. This is an opportunity for them. I'm curious, Jean, as you're talking to clients and customers and they're thinking about introducing AI, are they starting with chatbots? Are they starting with they're thinking about agentic AI, or is that again in that maturity model
First of all, I can tell
phase?
you this much. Those numbers that you're throwing up there about 2029, 80% of standard customers, that's like science fiction to like all of my clients. You understand that, right? I mean, we already know, like, you go on ChatGPT and you ask it a question, and like 20% of the time it's completely wrong, you know? So, I don't have a single client that's like ready to hand over their customer service processes to agentic AI yet.
For
We'll let the
sure.
big companies play around with that stuff and
They'll
make their
work the kinks
mistakes.
out, and then we'll
Yes.
get
Then
there,
it's
right?
trickling it down. And so but it is like the writing on the wall. Do you know what I mean? Like, you
Absolutely.
know where it's going. And, it's like, the Wright brothers developed an airplane, and within 20 years, airplanes were, flying in war. And, within 80 years, we had, we were on the moon. Do you know what I mean? So
Right.
things go fast, they go really fast. And so, if you're a business owner, you need to know the reality. And the reality is, in 2025 and 2026, I don't think you're going to be leaning heavily on agentic AI to do your core customer service processes yet. but you better be learning it and you better be trying it out and you better be understanding it because I do promise you that sometime in the future, and I think it will be within 5 years, so it's not that out of control. You will be leaning more and more on it to do this stuff. And and again, it's not like you're going to be firing people and all that kind of stuff. I mean, you don't have enough people as it is. So you'll
Right.
be using a lot of these agents to doing things that you wish could have been done by the one person who doesn't have enough time in the week. So it's not reality now. I don't think it's going to be reality in the next year or so, but it is going to be reality in the not too distant future. And our job as business owners is to keep a close eye on it and start playing around with it and testing it and getting to know it, and teaching our employees not to be afraid
Right.
of it, that it's,
Right.
it's a tool for them. Because
Well,
it will happen.
and and again, that's specific to that agentic AI independent thinking. But and like I mentioned, over 50% of small businesses are trying out AI, and the number one place where that is 74% are trying out a chatbot of
Yeah.
some kind,
Yeah.
which is
And
not,
the
which
the
could
keywords
be
are
a lot of,
trying out. They're playing around with the chatbot. Do you know what I mean? And it's good. And the chatbots are providing good productivity. And I have people using chatbots to create policies or to review a contract, and which is awesome. But they're all learning that the chatbots are far from perfect. But they're good. They're a productivity tool, and that's great. But I don't have a single client that's, again, trusting AI to run any of their core customer service or operations yet, but
right.
they see the writing on the wall.
No, and that's where and again, that AI can be used even to power knowledge
Yeah.
bases and help centers, which again is helping your internal team. So
Yes.
here's kind of let's take like 25 steps back and just more of, not the writing on the wall, but where we are today, um, and how just modern service and modern technology, what that looks like from a self-service efficiency and empowered teams perspective. So this is not just AI, this is unified channels, this is
Yes.
streamlined systems, some automation in some way, shape, and form. Let's first talk about, seamless operations. So eliminating those manual tasks. The self-service containment is one that, again, I think there's a lot of, for many folks, they think, well, if I put an AI chatbot on my website, it might get the answer wrong and they're going to have to just call me anyway. You'd be surprised how much the inquiry volume that you get for even basic things like, how do I reset my password, or
Yeah.
what are your hours? Are you open on this day? Like those basic FAQs can be completely contained and you won't have to call anybody or talk to anybody to be able to answer those. And that's really, really powerful. And I recognize these arrows are going down, but they should be up. But improving self-service rate. So we're seeing that
Mm.
inquiry volume go down, but you're improving your self-service rate by 85% is pretty amazing.
It is.
And honestly, the second bullet point really highlights that you're deflecting the repetitive inquiries and reducing those escalations. You don't need to call the owner of the business, and escalate that much because a lot of those basic things can be answered. I also too, when we're talking about team productivity, if you're able to leverage a unified system that has a record of all the times that they've contacted you and they're all listed in the dates and times and the topics that they maybe called you about, or again, you have a self-service bot on your website, you can use that to just automate away and eliminate repetitive tasks that are on your very lean team already. And then, and I love this last one too. And again, this should be an arrow upwards on improving net promoter scores,
Mm.
but that future proof, customer loyalty. If you are to what Gene you had already said, which I liked a lot, your customers are already expecting personalized text messages or reminders or automated answers. Those things are going to bring your customers back to you because it's easy to do business with you. And
Mm.
if you have some of those things in place, again, it may seem daunting to take these things on, but it's really, especially with the right tools, it's not, and it's worth it because you're able to scale your teams, make them more productive, and still just deliver a better experience across the board. I'm curious, Gene, in the clients and customers that you work with, businesses that
Mm.
you work with, for them, are they, when they're thinking about modernizing technology at all, are they, of these three sort of operations or team productivity or just that customer loyalty, which one of these things do you think really um, drives the need for change?
I think it's the operational part. I really do. I think that the team productivity and the customer loyalty part of it, will are indirect benefits of it. But if you go to a small business owner and you're like, listen, you've got somebody sitting here and they spend 30% of their day answering routine questions, or responding to repetitive questions, throughout the day. And we can use AI and a chatbot, a customer service system, so people just go to your website or email and get answers right away. That frees that person up to do more work and be more productive. That to me is like that's ROI, and business owners see that and they're like, this is great. Once you have that system set up and that information is coming into your customer service system, then you start seeing like, oh wow, like my team could start sharing information about this customer. And by the way, not just your customer service team, your sales team too. I mean, the last thing you want is a salesperson calling on a customer who's going through an issue right now. So having them visibility, giving them visibility into what's going on with the customer, improves what they're doing from a sales part. Plus, they can identify opportunities, that if a customer is having a problem with something, there might be something else that can be sold to them or service provided that could help solve, that problem. So, but I think it
Right.
all starts with just with the people that like me that run businesses, Katie. It's all about just saving time. It is again, we don't have enough people to do enough of the work, and I got
Right.
this person over here spending too much time answering customer questions. And you're telling me we can put in an AI-based system that will take away a third of that? I mean, I'd be like, sign me up, you know?
I'm glad that you see. Oh well, I know how you feel about it, and then you know how I
Yeah.
feel about it too. But again, that and I'm really encouraged by some of these survey results that show that this is also, there's more small businesses than you think that are like, yep, I get it, I got to start moving in this
Yep.
direction. So again, if you're here and you're thinking about this, let this be the sign to say like, take the plunge. And again, the plunge doesn't have to be a full. It's not a fully autonomous, independently operating customer service operation. It's just even basic things. And actually, let's go through some of those examples of some basic ways that just modern technology, and these are kind of focused on AI, and we'll get into some other
But this
benefits.
is like a perfect example. This is like, right. I mean, this sells any business owner. They get calls throughout the day, and then at night, and they don't have a support staff. And I was literally just talking to a client, that in South Carolina, they sell overhead doors, and they have repairs and they have issues with, if you have a door, an overhead door, Katie, like,
Oh yeah, yeah,
warehouse,
the
residences, properties,
yeah,
the whole
garage doors.
automatic thing or whatever. So they will get a call from like a property owner that has, like, whatever, some commercial property. The overhead door's stuck or a spring broke and it's 1 in the morning. It's a safety issue and it's a security issue and they need help and it's 1 in the morning. And the owner is like, I gotta pay somebody to
Be
an
available.
hourly rate to sit around to answer these calls when like a lot of the calls they get are just like you flip a switch or there's a procedure to follow and then the issue is resolved. So
Right.
this is the kind of thing. If that call comes in at 2 in the afternoon, it's one thing, but the after hours thing is massive.
Well, and again, and if you're sitting here like, well, what's the difference between this bot that's on during the work hours versus not work hours? Again, you can have that be the same bot. It's the availability of that
Yes.
information or being able to escalate things, and the thing that's really delivering that 24/7 instant support without adding anybody or needing someone to be sitting in front of their. A lot of people wear a lot of hats. What if you just
Yes.
aren't able to be manned right at that moment? A lot of small teams, again, are maybe they're dealing with another client that needs a white glove experience. And if there's something that a bot like this can provide, again, not just provide basic information, but this is where AI is really amazing, and particularly with specific systems that are able to update info or provide information. They're actually maybe even able to update again, like in this
Right,
example here, I got to change an address. They're like, cool, let me verify who you are, and I'm going to go ahead and do that. Um, and the other big thing is like I mentioned, it's easier to do this than a lot of um, customers or a lot of small businesses think that it is.
right.
The setup, to deploy a virtual chatbot is, particularly if it's a prompt-based one, it's just tell it what it needs to do, connect it to your systems. In Talkdesk, we're really big on usability and being able to drag and drop things. You don't need to know any coding. That's not something even just for small business owners. That's even for enterprise clients.
And think about Katie, how this has evolved. I just want to say, like these
Yeah.
things on the website, these chatbots they've been around for years.
Oh
The way
yeah.
that it's always been for years is that it's customer chat. So you go on it, and then there has to be a live person that's responding back, to the customer when they're chatting, which means you have to pay somebody to be available, and that's always like whatever. Then it moved into sort of like, oh, it's asking a question. Here's like an FAQ to give an answer. Here's a link to our website that might provide you with the answer, which is kind of hit or miss in some customers or whatever. Now it's like because of AI, this is how it's evolved. It is literally understanding what's being typed or spoken into the bot. And then the AI, AI now has the ability to say, okay, well, it is this. So I can find you the right answer and give you the right answer right
Hmm.
now, as opposed to having like a live human involved. So it's again, it's not a new concept. It's just gotten better and better in
So
these
much
past
better
years. Yeah.
than it used to be. Now,
Yes.
gee, this is a great transition to the next kind of experience. When we talk about AI powered IVRs, and IVR, like I mentioned before, typically a very clunky phone call experience.
What does
Also,
IVR stand for?
uh, gosh,
Internet voice something?
internet voice routing. No, I actually don't think it's internet.
Okay.
I'm gonna make sure you're pulling up.
Intravenous response. I'm gonna come up with different. Let me go on ChatGPT and see if I can come up with some fun.
Oh my gosh.
Like,
No, no, no. Well, actually, I'm looking it up just to make sure that I'm correct. It's interactive voice response. Interactive.
interactive voice response.
There you
Okay,
go.
fair
Of
enough.
course it is.
Right. Yeah. Yep.
It
All
is.
right.
It's like voice, it's voice response. You're like, yeah, intravenous. That's funny. Uh, but when you're powering you come to the gate and you're like, where do I need to send you? Do I need to send you
Yes.
to billing? Do I need to send you to is it an emergency? Whatever it is, these systems for customers, when you call in, you're like, listen to our options. Our options have changed. And you're like, oh my goodness, how many times have I called my local, doctor's office and
The
there's like
worst.
five options.
Yeah. It's the worst.
From the voice side of the house, AI powered quote unquote IVRs, they're based in natural language. So you're not even needing to give those options anymore. You're just able to say like, describe what your issue is. I see that very commonly, across enterprises. Some small businesses have this, but this is also another one. There's really low hanging fruit. You don't have to make somebody listen to your 2 minutes of phone options and have them press a number. Just describe your issue or say your issue in natural language like billing or
Yes.
even, my pull down door is broken.
Right.
Okay, that sounds like a maintenance issue of some sort.
No,
Let's
well,
get
I've
oh,
got another example for you. These guys are not a Talkdesk customer because it's not a customer service thing per se, but this is it's an IVR related application, but it hands for restaurants. So if you call up a restaurant and you want to make a reservation, a bot answers the phone and it can understand. I mean, you're just making a reservation. I'm looking for a table for two for Thursday night. It can understand that. It's fairly simplistic, and it will confirm the reservation and book you the reservation and add it to Open Table or whatever else, app that you're using. So it's understanding you and it is doing something. And plus, if you ask it something more complicated, it will immediately transfer you over to like a human being who can take that call. And that's
exactly.
huge for restaurant owners because their margins are low and they're paying somebody to pick up the phone and make reservations. That same person should be out dealing with customers. So that's what these systems are doing, and they're far from perfect, but man, they are a heck of a lot better than they were even a year ago.
Oh my
So
gosh.
yeah,
That's again the great thing about, if you're working with technology, particularly one that is unified where
yeah,
everything's, you got your digital channels, your voice, and your AI all in one. As things advance, everything stays connected. I do think that's a really big benefit, versus, hey, we have this independent chatbot, and we have this independent SMS thing and this independent whatever. Being able to connect all those systems separately, or being able to connect those separate systems yourself can
Yep.
sometimes take a lot of time. So it is something that is important, I think, when small businesses are thinking about these things, think about what that admin lift looks like, not just to set up the flows or whatever you want to call them, but also set up the system itself. In this little video that keeps replaying, one thing I just wanted to highlight once this start over is, there's all those options that are there. I love this still for because even if you don't want to use natural language, and the reason this is a chat, it's a little hard to have us play a video here or play a phone call, but this is leveraging the AI powered IVR routing to be able to
Mm.
send this to get the right information at the right time by just typing in a natural response. But those buttons at the top are still really great for some of your most basic, questions or categories that people are going to ask about. And you can have both. You can have that chatbot experience where you're providing them options that they can pick from quickly. People really appreciate that. But then still, hey, describe your issue in a natural, just describe what's going on. And it still gets them where they got to go. It's a little bit of the best of both worlds. And so, if you're a business who says, well, sometimes my customers don't know what they want or they don't know what they
Mm.
need. All right, well, then great. You can put those options up for them and they can still pick and choose where they need to go. But again, the biggest thing is about making it easier for your consumers to get connected where they got to go. The other piece of this is that, if these AI powered, IVRs or routers, whatever you want to call them, they can be sent to an AI chatbot to sort them out or to a real person. Like you can choose where they
Right.
want to go.
Right.
Again, knowing that for your customer or the business who had that broken
And one
customer
thing,
with a broken door, get them to somebody right away. Don't
yeah,
send
if
them.
I can add to that, there
Yeah.
are people. I mean, come on, I think both you and I we talked about this before. Sometimes, like, you just don't want to talk to a bot. You want to talk to a
You're
human right
like
away.
person. Yep,
Yeah,
I
I
know
am
it. I
furious and
already
I don't want to speak to a bot. Okay, put a human on the line. So the smarter businesses that I know that are deploying these kinds of things, and they're pretty common to deploy now. You should be giving your that option to your customers, your callers right off the bat. Like, hi, I'm Katie, and I'm a bot. I can help you with your question. However, if you do want to speak to a human, just say human, and it routes it to a human being. But then, so that you're gonna have some people that, yes, I want to speak to a human, and then other people are like, okay, as long as I get my question answered fast, I really don't care if it's a dog barking. Just give me the answer so I can get my move on. So, but I'm just seeing that's been like sort of like the best practice so far is giving the callers that option right up front. So not trying
No,
to
I
sway
like
them
that too.
otherwise.
Just being transparent.
Transparent about it. Yeah, sure.
I'm mindful of time, so I'm going to keep us rolling to
Yep.
another great example of this is not just AI. This is again the unified, having all your channels in one place and what this can do from you from a reporting perspective to actually see what's driving your customer inquiries and your challenges. This is something that you're looking at as a dashboard that's, it's grouped all using AI, listening to calls or and actually looking at the transcriptions from digital interactions. It's grouping all of the different reasons that people are calling you. And you can use this in real time. You can use this in a look back over the last month. What are the reasons and what was the mood of some people when they talk to you? This to me is not even just from a operations and improving like handle rates, but to know what's going on with your customers and why they call. Maybe if you don't have something like this, you've got somebody in customer experience that's on your team who's really sharp and they can keep an eye on some of this stuff. They go, over the last month I noticed everyone's calling us about this one part that's broken. And you're like, wow, that person is a very valuable team member to have. Not
Hmm.
everybody's got someone like that. So if you're connecting the dots across your channels and able to use just basic sentiment analysis and mood analysis to see why people are calling you and are they happy when they call you? Are they happy when they hang up the phone? You can make so many improvements to your literal business operations that will deliver better experiences for your customers.
And very quickly, Katie, I have a lot of clients that use these same analytics to compensate their customer service people. How do you measure how well your customer service people are doing?
Right.
But the best way is you get these analytics on a person by person basis, and you're like, I mean, the sentiment of our customers with this rep is so much higher than the sentiment with our other reps. This person deserves an incentive or a bonus or whatever. But so it's not just customer service, but it's also measuring and compensating your people on your team.
Well, and I think too, looking at the those results from that small business survey, so only about 32% are using AI in any fashion
Mm.
to gain better insights into customer behavior and preferences. A lot of people, again, dipping their toe in from a just
Mhm.
let's streamline operations with those bots on our website. But this is one that I would say don't sleep on this. Don't count this one out because your analytics to see why people are calling you or what they're talking about. And I have this mentioned here at the bottom. We have something called CX sensors, and what that is if there is, let's say a part is broken, and you're getting a bunch of emails and calls because everyone's got a defective part. Something like defect can be a word that triggers a sensor and says, "Hey, you're seeing an unusual spike
Mm.
in parts that are broken or defects."
Mm.
Okay, that is also a totally separate issue that yes, you should call you the owner of the business and say, "Hey, we're seeing a bunch of people calling in about a defect. We may have a problem." That is something that you can help prioritize, even just business priorities. And technology is helping you get to the bottom of those, or not even get to the bottom of them. They're helping you proactively identify what those issues could be. And I know, Gene, separate from this, when we talk about reporting, you and I had a conversation at a previous time about what some of the even just some of the basic um metrics that people should
Yeah.
be looking at are, and I'm not even talking about sentiment and things like that, but
Right.
any good advice or thoughts you have about what sorts of things people should just be looking at across um a tool at all in terms of reporting and analytics.
My smartest clients, they don't run away from problems. They run to them because they know that problems and issues are opportunities and they know that they want to keep their customers happy. So they don't ignore them. So they lean on their customer service platform once a week or even more, saying, I need to see a list of my open issues. What open tickets are there, or cases or calls, whatever you're calling them? And they look at them, aged as well. Like, why has this been open for more than 48 hours or, more than a week? And then, by person, by customer, what was the last thing done? What's the next thing scheduled? That you can't get a more critical report than just your open issues report. So you're running a business. You want to know, what customers are having problem. That's one. The second most popular report that I've seen is time to close, which means that not time
Mhm.
to close out this webinar. We've got some more time. I know that, but time to close an issue. Like, okay, so how long is it taking us to close a problem? I mean, are customers waiting a week for a problem to be resolved? Like, what is the average time, and who is closing our issues the fastest, and what issues are taking the longest to close? That's like the second kind of report that people like to look at. So it's just open issues that are aged and how quickly it takes us to close an issue. There are other reports, but if you can get
Oh
those
yeah.
two reports coming regularly, I'm telling you, you really step up your business.
Well, and not to preview something coming, but I know that we have a blog coming from you actually about
Mm.
what some of those reports
Yes.
and analytics looks like. So we'll share that soon and make sure everybody who's here and signed up gets a copy of that.
And
Um,
I just want to say, by the way, this is not me. It's just what I've learned from like
yeah.
some great clients running their businesses. This is what they do, you know?
Oh, no, and then again, like I mean, to me, I mean, I even think some of the folks that we've talked to and seen from a small business perspective, they inform us every day of different ways that they prioritize initiatives, what have you. This is, and I've been talking about this quite a bit about unifying everything.
Mm.
And what's really important again here, and I do think that it can be tempting at times to be like, I just need this standalone tool and we'll get it in and we'll use it and then we'll deal with it later. Finding something that can be both omnichannel for voice, digital, and digital meaning email or text. And it's whatever, you don't have to use all of them, just whatever makes sense for your business. And AI that offers major advantages. These are all different things where AI is infused across all of your channels. You have identity authentication. If you have sensitive business that you need to authenticate folks as they come in. We see a lot with small banks. Uh,
Hmm.
you can use AI for that. Again, that navigator, AI powered routing, which we talked about to send people where they need to go across all of your channels. And, the unified omni-channel support, this is, we didn't talk too much about this, but I do think this is another big one too. You can use AI to help your customer service teams deliver the right answers when they are live with somebody, regardless of the channel, whether that's
Right.
over voice or over digital. And that's pulling from, maybe you have manuals or knowledge bases.
Right.
Something like an agent assistance tool, like a Copilot, is listening in and then giving advice proactively based on how the call is going. And those are things too, again, helping your team improve their personalized human touch without needing to scale, huge initiatives. Something like
And
this.
don't you think that's the way that isn't that where it's all going when you think about it, customer service, Katie? I mean, people like to talk to people. I mean, that's been recognized. We can use AI to make customer service people really good and really smart. So you and
Yep.
I can be talking, and my AI application is listening to our conversation and saying, "Make sure you mention this. This is a problem. This is a solution to the problem that she's bringing up." So then I'm super smart in your eyes, and we're having, but we're still human to human talking. You know what I mean?
I've been using AI this whole time. That's
Yeah.
all the
It's been
time.
prompting me for every single
It
answer.
prompted me for every single thing. No, but it is, and it's true. That's exactly where you want it can be such a helpful tool in
Mm,
helping give the best experience that you possibly can. And again, and the great thing about that unified tool is that you can look back and see like, oh yeah, I saw that you called, or a co-pilot who's like, this person called about this thing 3 times before. You should probably make sure
right,
you're particularly empathetic,
right.
whatever that is. I am mindful of time, so I'm going to keep us rolling so we can chat a little bit more about some of the questions that we
Yep.
see in this space. But one thing, as we're talking about all of this, for those of you that are here and interested, we at Talkdesk have a tool that is specifically for small businesses, Talkdesk Express. This is available on the Talkdesk website. We'll drop the link in the chat. This allows businesses up to 50 employees in the United States and Canada to get started in just a few clicks. This comes with a guide to get you started in less than 5 minutes. You would have a customer experience platform ready to go at your fingertips. It's completely free to sign up. You'll get 25 licenses for free forever, $100 in credits that you can use for text messages or emails or calls or AI if you want to mess around with putting a bot on your website. And then everything is unified and it's all in one streamlined platform. So what we've been kind of talking about is when you're looking for something that connects all those dots, in the back end, that's exactly what Talkdesk Express was meant to do. And it's in a single user friendly solution that's meant for small businesses because we know all of these challenges and expectations are becoming larger, and we wanted to deliver something for small businesses to compete just like the large organizations do with the same powerful tools in an easy to use format. So I will make sure that this is in the chat. I know, Jean, we've talked about this we've just been talking about this the entire webinar this whole time about the importance of delivering great experiences, unifying everything. And it's been really thrilling to bring this to the
Yeah.
market. I think it really solves a need for small businesses.
Yeah, I think it's a huge niche, and I think that it's a big opportunity as well. And I think a lot of small businesses, this is why you and I are working together because I just think there's this big gap in the market. Over the years, listen, I mean, smaller companies like mine, a lot of my clients, we have accounting applications, we have order entry, we have inventory applications. They dabble a little bit in CRM, but we're all just getting smarter and smarter about customer service, and we see how important that it is. And it always seems to get left behind, and it's one of the most vital parts of any business. So platforms like Talkdesk Express, I mean, they're inexpensive, they're affordable, they have high ROI, they're geared towards small businesses, and they're super super easy to set up. I set it up for my business, so it
It's
is,
true.
and it just does take your business up to not only to the next level, but to a level that I think your customers expect. So it is one of those core things that I think we all have to really consider and invest in, because it's a needed part of any business.
For sure. Well, I know we only got a couple of minutes, but let's go through some Q&A. I know this is a really common question, Jean, and you and I have talked about it a little bit before. Um, and we've talked about it a little bit in this webinar, advice for small
Mm.
businesses that feel overwhelmed by all of this new technology. If they're like looking at this being like, yeah, I'm missing a truck driver. I can't do this right now. Where do I even begin? There's so many things that I could possibly do. What is your advice for those folks that want to start, maybe don't know where to start?
So, it's a really common question because it's like drinking from a fire hose.
Hmm.
My advice is return on investment. I mean, you look around and you think to yourself, where are we most inefficient? Just think about that first. Because wherever you're most inefficient, that is likely where some type of technology can help solve this problem. And then the next thing to do is to then search for that technology and then figure out how much it costs and what it'll be to implement, and then make a decision whether or not it's worth making that investment. I mean, Katie, I have some clients that will spend $150,000 on a piece of equipment without even blinking an eye, and yet for them to spend a few dollars a month on Talkdesk Express, it takes them like 4 years to make a decision, because they you know what I mean? Like it's like this thing out there they can't they
Right.
don't see that immediate ROI. So, you have to look at the different areas of your company and be like, we kind of stink in this area. Like, I know we're losing money here. I know we're inefficient. We're understaffed. How, what applications out there can I lean into that will help me solve that problem? It's a problem solving thing. So
Hmm.
that's how I think that you should do. And then the final part to that question I just want to say is you mentioned being like, what technology should we have for our business? I've just learned, and I've learned the hard way, that the way that you solve a big problem is to break it up into smaller problems.
Yep.
So rather than just saying what technology should we have for blah blah blah, break it down and say, okay, clearly we have customers that are complaining, or we are not responding fast enough we're losing business because we're sounds like we have a customer service issue. Putting aside all other things that we could be investing in technologies, let's fix that issue first, and then we'll move on to other things, if that makes sense.
No, it does. Another great question from the audience that's actually in is how can small companies without a large, tech team or IT team be able to roll out agentic AI, which requires not only being able to write requirements, but also to deliver and train the AI system? I can tell you that Talkdesk intentionally, one of those great things about that is from a usability perspective, everything is prompt based. So again, and there's guides that are also built into our platform where you're giving it a goal. What are the things it needs to do? Are there other skills it needs to check or make sure? And then you're also able to, in the same interface, test that agent before you push it out. And then pushing it live is as simple as clicking a button. So you don't need um, deeply, deeply technical, like where you used to need like an AI machine, like data scientist to be able to like train AI models. One other thing that's in Talkdesk is we do have something called an AI trainer, which is where anybody across the business, if they have access, can look at the things that like intents and how they're matched. Let's say that the AI is mishearing a brand name of yours, you can correct that in the system again without needing any coding skills. So Roseanne, I'll follow up with you and send you some information about what our agentic AI looks like, but it is becoming easier and easier for businesses to now prompt engineering is certainly a skill in itself, but you can test all of those things inside a safe sandbox before you are, testing it live on customers
I do
in
have to,
a
I
live
do,
environment.
if you don't mind. I mean, Katie,
Yeah.
I love you. You're in charge of product at Talkdesk, so I totally get it. But it's Roseanne who posed this question. I do have to say, I don't want to sugarcoat this, okay? Even as easy and great as Talkdesk is, somebody in your company has got to own it. Somebody has
Yeah.
got to be in charge of doing that testing and getting it set up and implementing it and figuring out how to use it the right way. You're going to lean heavily on that, on Talkdesk support, maybe a partner or consultant to help you. But the bottom line is that you're not going to snap your fingers and you're going to have like a great customer service system, like just mushroom into your company. Somebody is going to have to drive that. The good news is, and to speak to what Katie just mentioned, a few years ago, you needed like some data geek to do that, or some IT nerd, or somebody that, like whatever. Now it's not the case. You need a good admin, somebody in your office that's, just, is good with software, or like is an admin kind of person. But I do want to make sure that this is clear that it's not going to happen with a click of the button. You are going to need to hand this project over to somebody internally and have them run with it. And that's how you will succeed with Talkdesk, and you will succeed if you have the right person assigned to the job.
Yeah. And then there is one more question. I know we're almost out of time. Do you have clients with healthcare or are you HIPAA compliant? The answer is yes and yes. So HIPAA compliant, and we have a number of healthcare clients, both big, small, in the everywhere in the middle, across the globe. So I'm happy again to send any information about that. But yes, absolutely HIPAA compliant for sure. That takes us to the top of the hour. Like I thought it was gonna
God, that went
fly by.
fast.
I could have just chatted about, could have just chatted. I could always just chat about this stuff forever with you, Gene. But again, I just want to thank you so much for being here and for joining us, and lending your expertise. It's extremely appreciated. And I want to thank all of you for tuning in as well. Great. All right. Well,
Thanks.
have a great rest of your day, Gene. Everyone else have a great rest of your day too. And we will get a recording of this in your inbox.
Thanks, Katie.
Awesome.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks all. All right. Bye.